What are you, another wannabe samurai?
Heh. After watching this video, you won't be a wannabe. You're gonna be the real thing. I'm Poir, and today I'm gonna show you how to break the game with Longsword in Monster Hunter Wilds. So if you're ready to learn, leave a like, samurai, and let's begin. Longsword has 3 gauges. Your goal is to get to red gauge because it boosts your damage and alters your moveset. Now there's a bajillion ways to increase your gauge. The first is using normal attacks to build your meter, and then just spam R2 for the Spirit Blade combo at around 75% meter, and landing the final hit of Spirit Blade combo gets you a gauge increase. Emphasis on landing the final hit. There's Foresight Slash via R2 plus circle after doing most attacks, which can iframe a monster's attack or roar if you have some meter, and if you land the follow-up hit, you get a gauge, and a ton of meter on top. There's also an advanced version at red gauge, and now Foresight can pretty much cancel most attack animations, allowing you to, on reaction, counter most things in the game. Now while in red after a Foresight, you will consume some of your meter, but if successful, you actually gain a bit back. And you can follow up with an R2 round slash into a leaping slash to gain even more back, and it puts you closer to the monster. You can't gain infinite meter this way, but it seems you can gain it back 2 to 4 times total, which is great for extending your red gauge time. Then there's EI Spirit Slash via R2 plus X after doing most attacks, which puts you into a stance momentarily and gives you 2 options. The first is hitting triangle, doing a double slash, which gives you a meter over time effect if you land it, which is good for Foresight, but more importantly is hitting R2 for a counter during a monster's attack or roar, and if you land, you will get a gauge. But actually in Wilds, successfully countering with EI also lets you hit R2 to go right into a Spirit Blade Ender for an easy 2 gauge increase. Really good, so it does more damage than Foresight, doesn't need meter, and can be boosted via skills like Crit Draw and Quick Sheath. The fourth way to increase your gauge is to hold R2, and that will do a charging attack, which when fully charged, which is about 3 seconds, if you hit with it, you get a gauge. What's cool though is that you can start the animation, then let go of R2 to do normal spirit slashes, and that will still remember the point of where your charge was when you hold R2 again. So you don't have to restart the animation all over from the start. Although this only works with R2s or circle spam, which you can pretty much do infinitely, but I'll talk about this more later. And the fifth way is through wounds by hitting R1 while in focus mode, getting new gauges depending on how many wounds you break during the animation. This animation also has complete hyper armor if landed on a wound, and has 3 variations depending on the direction you hold the left thumbstick. Holding up or not at all does a vertical slash, holding left or right does a horizontal slash, and holding backwards does a back hop slash. And if you spam R2 afterward, you also quickly do the spirit slash combo for another easy gauge on top. And to mount a monster in this game, you usually need like 2 to 3 R2 or triangle attacks while jumping to trigger the mount, but you can also use R2 after doing a slide on a hill, and then hold R2 to go right into a charge R2 round slash for an easy gauge increase even at 0 meter, which is really useful in certain maps. So those are the ways to get gauges. Now here are some quick tips before the combos. Focus mode is too good for aiming and moving, so I would recommend putting it on toggle unless you want to hold the left trigger a ton. To give an example, here's going to be your closer combo to get closer to a target while in red, overhead slash, and then spirit slash. Without focus mode, from this point, it goes about this far, needing some extra attacks to reach. But while in focus mode, just triangle and R2 alone get you to the target, so it's broken, use toggle. You can get gauge even if you hit corpses or small animals like the herbivores with a round slash, so take advantage of that for easy gauge increases. You can delay your attacks, even your counters like Foresight, by waiting a bit before inputting the buttons. Useful for delaying when to use the counter to time against the monster's attack. Likewise, Spirit Release Slash, done by pressing R2 after a Helm Breaker in red gauge, can be delayed as well. Helm Breaker, R2 plus triangle, has hyper armor at the very start of the animation, although the window is very tight, but the Spirit Release Slash has hyper armor for the entirety of the animation, so delaying it has some use cases. A new option in Wilds is that Helm Breaker can be cancelled when in mid-air by hitting the evade button, aka X, on the PlayStation controller, which is super useful and an amazing quality of life feature. And we love longsword, don't we? Next, foresight normally puts you backwards, but if you rotate your camera and left thumbstick away from the target, you can actually foresight into the monster instead of away. And you can also do this in focus mode if your camera speed is fast enough, which is pretty useful. Skill-wise, Quick Sheave is an armor skill in this game, and it's a level 1 skill, and most level 1 armor skills kind of suck, so in nearly every longsword build you make, you might as well just put Quick Sheave level 3 to speed up your EI Spirit Slash. Another skill worth considering is Adrenaline Rush, which will trigger with Foresight Slash for a ton of raw super easily. And lastly, your opening move against the monster that roars at the start of the battle should be a sneak attack, which is hitting circle while being unnoticed. Then you go into a charge R2, into EI to counter the roar, and then hit R2 again to go straight to red gauge, depending on the monster. Really powerful combo. So, now it's time for the updated best combos. First off, the normal attack combo, used when you're not able to counter but you still want to increase your gauge. It's triangle, triangle, EI into the double hit triangle, giving you the meter over time effect, and then just spam R2 until the round slash. Then from white all the way to red, all you need to do is one phase slash into R2 spam. But, and this is important, on the round slash to red, hit R2 again for the jumping slash. It's really high damage, so you're going to want to do this anytime you do a round slash to or in red gauge. And the small EI at the very start also gives you that option to counter if need be, so I think this is the best normal attack combo. And a little tip about the phase slash itself is that you can actually change your position by hitting the left thumbstick at the same time as triangle plus circle. You can go left, right, or backwards, which is nice for positioning more towards the head. Tail. tail, right? Second combo is Foresight into EI, which is useful against double attacks like Arkveld's chain attack. You will Foresight the first hit without doing the follow-up, and instead go into EI right after to counter the second hit. You will need Quick Sheave level 3 for this, but at red gauge, you drop EI completely and just use circle, foresight to counter everything in the game. The third combo, the big one, Helm Breaker spam is unoptimal. Red attack spam is the new king. You're also able to foresight cancel any of your attacks on command, and sometimes Spirit Release Slash could miss or hit non-weak spots, killing your DPS, or even just Helmbreaker missing outright. So this is just going to be more consistent for most players. In the back is me doing the Helmbreaker into full EI counter and R2 combo into another Helmbreaker and Spirit Release, using Raydal's sword with 0 crit or wounds for no variation, and in 19 seconds you get 2,798 damage. Versus the red attack spam combo, which is just spamming triangle till the final hit of Crimson Slash 3, where you then hit R2 once to reset and repeat this. And in 19 seconds, I get 2,949 damage. And you can forego Quick Sheave since most of your counters are going to be in red with Foresight. But actually, even more DPS is hitting triangle twice and then hit R2 and repeat. I just kind of mash it, but it ekes out at 3,156 damage in 19 seconds. But unless you want carpal tunnel, I would recommend the other one since it's a bit less taxing on your fingers. So yeah, this is the best combo, period. Unless something like a certain build or speedrunners could prove this wrong, but for the average player, I think this is just straight up better and safer, and well, a change of pace compared to just EI Helmbreaker spam, which we've already done for 2 games in a row now. But to back this up further, the second red spam combo is nearly on par with Helmbreaker by itself. So Helmbreaker combo, which is roughly 6 seconds from start to finish to be able to move again, that will get you 1,086 damage. Versus the red attack spam, which in 6 seconds gets you around 1,060 damage, nearly the same damage, but you can more readily deal more damage faster afterward. Whereas with Helmbreaker, you're back down to white, you have to time EI, etc. Here, at any moment, you just press R2 plus circle, and you have Foresight to counter everything while staying in red and not having to deal with meter and all that junk. And this is not even using power prolonger, which would extend that meter even more. So moral of the video is don't dump your red gauge into Helmbreaker as soon as you get it. You're going to get more DPS on average by being aggressive with normal red attacks. But let me know down in the comments which of these gets you faster hunt times. I'm curious if this is actually accurate or not. But now the broken stuff, which has to do with the charged R2. You can trigger Foresight with no meter because of the R2 charge attack, which can be cancelled with Foresight if done at the beginning of the animation, even at 0 meter. Since the charge R2 starts charging your meter as soon as you begin the animation, which allows Foresight to trigger. So if you have no meter, you can quickly do this to gain meter to then hopefully Foresight and attack. And it's fairly easy to do. You just hold R2, or you can hit circle normal attack first and then hold R2 for slightly faster animation, and then quickly press circle without letting go of R2, and you will do the Foresight cancel. Now if you do miss your timing, simply let go of R2 and then re-hold it again and try to time your Foresight again. But let's say you missed the Foresight. Just quickly hit circle and then charge R2 again and try again. So you have fail safes in case you mess up. It's super easy in practice, but of course doing it in an actual fight is harder since you gotta pre-plan against an attack ahead of time. So most players probably won't be able to take advantage of this, but you can also cancel it with EI stance. Just hit R2 plus X instead of circle at the start of the charge animation, although it's not that useful since you can just do that with a basic circle attack. But what makes this truly broken, at the end of a successful or failed EI counter, which normally has a long recovery animation, now we can simply start charging R2 right after the round slash and vastly shorten the animation. So EI, counter, and then just hold R2, and that will put you back into the charge animation. However, I recommend tapping R2 quickly after the round slash to get in quicker, as the animation is slightly sped up. And from there, you can do it infinitely. Obviously, you want to quick shoot level 3 with this, otherwise you want to use Foresight. Although, another new cancel is Focus Mode R1 cancel. This cancels all animations. So if you're near a spot that has a wound, you can cancel everything with R1 into Hyper Armor Wound Break, and then you get free gauges. So the charge R2 cancel should be done when you're away from the monster, but if you're close to the monster and there's a wound, you should do the R1 Focus Mode cancel. So yeah, longsword's pretty broken now, and hopefully these tips and combos would allow you to break the game further. Sorry Ratataskar, they did indeed not nerf the weep stick. Everything's cheap in this game! Yippee! If you enjoyed the video and maybe learned some things, make sure to give the video a like to scratch Sensei's back, share it with anyone wanting to learn longsword more, and comment down below your thoughts on everything here. But that's it for me. Check out my review for Monster Hunter Wilds, and I'll have more guides like Bo and such in the end screen as well. And if you don't want to miss any future OP longsword builds, subscribe for more Wilds epicness.
A sword is a weapon. The art of swordsmanship is learning how to kill. That is the truth.